Everybody in the 80s thought you had to do it bigger, better, more. And it just so happened to be at the Cathouse, right? So you go to the Cathouse, you barely remember walking out. That place is fucking nutty, man. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Hold on. I'm interrupting this podcast like I have been. If you listen to episode 1, I did it. I'm probably going to be doing it for the next couple episodes. I got a question for you. Are you into time travel? Look, I got this like mixing board because I'm going to start getting really into podcasting, and I have sound effects. Are you into time travel? That was the wrong one. Yeah, because we're doing some time traveling right now. You see, this episode was recorded probably... Oh, well, first of all, let me explain that today is September 25th, 2023. But dates are really so irrelevant when it comes to this Cathouse Hollywood podcast, because even though what you're about to hear is a remixed version of a podcast that was recorded 6 months ago, the stories that we're telling are about 30 years ago. So does it really matter? And when you're listening to this, it's actually the future, because I'm recording this talking about something I did 8 months ago that was talking about something that happened 30 years ago. I know, I'm confused. But in any case, let's go back to an interview I did about 8 months ago, and I'm going to interrupt this show again with some pretty cool news, I think. So let's return now from me, who is in the today, even though you're listening to this in my future, but we're going to go back to an interview that I did 8 months ago talking about something that happened 30 years. Actually, it's 37 years, but who's counting? Let's return back to episode 2 of the Cathouse Hollywood podcast. Coming to you from the Cathouse South Studios in Race City, USA. This is episode 2 of the Cathouse Hollywood podcast. My name is Riki Rachtman, and you just heard Stephen Pearcy from the band Ratt. And Ratt has had so many amazing hits. And I mean, think about it. It's like, yeah, they had the number 1 song, which was Round and Round. And it's like when there's a band that has a huge hit, that's a song I don't want to even hear. Like, most people know my number 1 band is Motorhead, but I don't even want to hear Ace of Spades. But other than Round and Round, I mean, you know, you really want... Should I do that? Should I just start seeing if I can, like, think off the top of my head of 10, like, great Ratt songs and try to sing them, because I can't play them, because then you got to, like, give somebody money. So, you know, you really want to lay it down. And then there's Body Talk. Please stay. You're in love. That was in 1985. And you're back for more. Dance, dance, dance. Lack of communication, and I'm insane. There's a lot of slip of the lip. Way Cool Jr. Way Cool Jr. I want a woman. Loving you is a dirty job. How much time have I taken up of this show so far? I apologize. I went to see Ratt play at the Long Beach Arena, and I went with Izzy Stradlin of Guns N' Roses. And I remembered the band that opened up for Ratt, and I told Izzy, watch the singer of this opening band. This guy's going to be bigger than George Michael's of Wham. And the band that opened up for Ratt at the Long Beach Arena was Bon Jovi. You're riveted, aren't you? Are you drinking Cathouse coffee? If you're not, why? It's like the best coffee. No, really it is. 100% Arabica, dark roast, and it's called Cathouse Coffee, but don't think that we just bought a bag of coffee and put a sticker on it. Oh, no, my friend. It's so much more than that. Me and my partner, Leah Vendetta, I mean my partner in business. Somehow it's like, oh, she's my wife. But in business, she's my partner. Let's go back to what I was talking about. Cathouse Coffee is so damn good. We're there for the roasting. We put the stickers on the bags, and we ship them out fresh to you. Now, check this out. You need to try Cathouse Coffee. You really, really do. Go to catthousecoffee.com and put in the secret code CHP. That's CHP. Not California Highway Patrol, but Cathouse Hollywood Podcast. Go to catthousecoffee.com and get your Cathouse Coffee now. Okay, let's go to my interview with Stephen Pearcy. Stephen, one of the things that we share is a passion for motorsports. We've both been into racing for a real long time. I've had a NASCAR radio show called Racing Rocks for 20 years that just got canceled, but I've worked in racing and different types of motorsports, American flat track motorcycle racing. But Stephen, I know that you have been in drag racing. I mean, you were into drag racing even before you were in to rock and roll. Like, weren't you even going to be a professional drag racer before you were in a band?
Yeah, and I just recently was sent a picture of me in the pits with the freight train, a double engine dragster, top fuel dragster that the guy I worked for drove. He sent to me, I'm like, after all these years, a picture of me like 14 standing next to this dragster in the pit outfit and everything.
I grew up in Van Nuys, and when I was a kid, I used to go to Tony Nancy's shop and ask for stickers. And for people that don't know, Tony Nancy, the loner, was like a famous drag racer when I was a kid. Did you have a drag racing idol when you were a kid?
Don Schumacher. He drove the Stardust funny car.
But you were like, this was what your plans were. Your goal when you were growing up, it wasn't to be a rock star first. It was to be a drag racer, right?
Yeah, music was the furthest thing. The trip is, we moved a lot when I was kind of young. So everywhere I went, there happened to be within a mile or 2 mile radius, a fucking dragster or something. And I'm like, I'd always stop by. And then the Hawaiian, if you're familiar with the Hawaiian. Well, at my Catholic school, St. Gerard's in Culver City, he lived right across the street. And I'd see the Hawaiian funny car in the 60s up on the truck. And I'd go over there and touch it and stuff, So I had been going to the races, drag races with a friend of mine. And it just was a bug. And then I just started working for him. Traveling, went to the Indy Nationals in 1971 when it was like roughing it. You slept under the truck, the trailer and shit. There was none of this fancy pantsy. But my idol was like Don Schumacher, and lo and behold, I ended up becoming great friends with his son, the winningest driver, top fuel history, Tony Schumacher.
So this is the Cathouse Hollywood podcast, and I want to go way back. Before even the Sunset Strip, sort of when you were just starting in the early bands, tell me what the scene was like, because I know the scene in the 80s in Hollywood, but what was it like in the mid-late 70s?
I pretty much wasn't really into music. And then after my accident, when I was like 14, a friend of mine used to always tell me, when I started getting into music, I got my guitar and stuff, and I was like, I want to do this. And, and I mean, come on, I'm laid up in the hospital playing guitar. And he goes, well, you got to see this band. They're called Van Halen. They're playing Gazaris. And this is around 1976 or 1976 or 7. And I'm like, yeah, I'll get to it. I'm still trying to tinker in San Diego to do my band, my first band, Crystal Pistol, and a 5-piece. I just sang, and I wanted to play guitar. And you got to see Van Halen. You got to see Van Halen. And God, months later, he tells me, and by now I'm full blown in Mickey Ratt, got the gear. We're playing huge gigs in San Diego around 1978. Oh, you got to go see Van Halen. You got to go see this band. They're crazy. They're playing the Whiskey now. They're the Whiskey. And I'm like, okay. So I go, well, fuck it. Just one day I hop in my car by myself. I might have had my Vox amp. Some gear with me, and I park right there on Larrabee on the slant right across from the Whiskey, across the street, and I wait until I saw somebody from the band in the daytime, about 5, 4. Lo and behold, there's David Lee Roth walking. I see him start walking upstairs. I'm like, hey, Dave, you want to smoke a joint? And he did. So I go, fuck yes, I'm in. Fucking get backstage. And by then I'm way into guitar, singing Mickey Ratt, playing guitar, Chris Hager, the whole bit. And me and Dave smoke a joint. And I was just like, later, you know. I mean, we've never really been tight. We know each other to this day in total respect. But it was Ed who I became really good friends with, even neighbors years later. But it was so cool because I was like, where's that Ed guy? Where's that Ed guy? And I'm backstage by myself. Can you imagine, right?
And he was a guy back then because I was
Yeah.
I was in early stages of high school, and around that time I lived in Van Nuys, and everybody was talking about, like, they were talking about this Ed guy, but I also remember them talking about this Randy guy that was playing in Quiet Riot at the time. That was like, or maybe that might have been a little bit after, but everybody knew, like I didn't know Quiet Riot songs, but I heard people in my high school talking about Randy Rhoads, like people used to talk about Eddie Van Halen, right?
Sure. Yeah, and you know, it's a trip because as I was getting into music, I'd be making these trips up to LA to see bands. Like I'd see Snow with Carlos at the Starwood. I'd see, you know, whoever I could after that. I mean, as soon as I saw Van Halen, but I mean, the whole scene, you're right. It was Rhodes, Ed, even Lynch. There was another band called The White, and the guitar player was really good. And I just took notes. And for 2 years, I couldn't take it anymore. By then, Van Halen was huge. Me and Robin were friends in our bands in San Diego. He had Phenomenon and Mac Mita, and I had Mickey Ratt. We'd play shows together, and it was bitching. You know, I mean, big gigs, you know, but there's no record deals. And the minute I met Ed at the Whiskey, I'm like, it's over. These guys are like the next Led Zeppelin. I want to do this, right? I'm committed now, you know, to going for it. So we see him playing all these arenas. And I mean, one time, really a trip, they played San Diego Sports Arena for the first time. And it was kind of a quarter of the arena. And he didn't have enough gear, cabs. So he told me, I need some cabs. I'm calling everybody I know. Robin, this guy Ed needs some cabs. You got to see him, you know, and Tommy, you know, gear. And so we got a bunch of gear there. And then everybody finally knew who the fuck I was talking about, right? This new band, Van Halen. And then I just decided, fuck it, man. I'm moving to LA. January 1, 1980, I was gone with Mickey Ratt. That was it. Beginning of it all for me.
Now, there's different, in my opinion, there's different waves. I was part of the 86 Guns N' Roses Cathouse wave, I like to selfishly call it. And before that, there was a wave that I always looked at as being the Ratt, Motley Crue wave that was a little bit before. And I want to start by saying this, because I never told you this, Stephen. We're friends, and I never told you this. And I said this, if you listen to Jamie Josta's podcast, I said this. I said, the one thing about Ratt, more than any of those bands of this era, I'm going to be honest with you, Ratt's got so many damn songs. And look, you can take Motley Crue, who does well, and Motley Crue has success, and they're selling stadiums. But but Motley Crue, let's be honest, Motley Crue's got some great songs, but they have some okay songs. Ratt, in my opinion, has a lot of really, really great hits, and I'm not talking about Round and Round. I mean, you just go in the catalog, and I start listening to some Ratt music. I'm like, oh my God, I forgot about Waco. Oh, I forgot about Dance. Oh, you forgot about Body Talk. You forget. There's just so many damn hits back then.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, it's like now I go out and do, you know, if you want to see Ratt, you go see me.
Of course, of course.
But I mean, I'm looking at these songs, and it's like it's hard for me to throw even in a solo song, because we had like 16 videos. I mean, you know, I'll eventually do the video tour. Who the fuck knows? There's so much shit going on. But there are songs, yeah, and that was a deliberate thing from Ratt since the beginning. You had Warren, who liked Uli and Hendrix, and who else? Who knows who? And then Robin turned me on to Priest. And that was a whole new awakening for me. That was around 1978, 9, something like that. And you got Robin, who was this metal guy who loved Hendrix, who loved Michael Schenker, and you have Bobby, who comes from literally rock swing, a Beatles fanatic, Journey, you know. And then you have me. Back then I was listening to everything from The Fix to Priest to, I was all over the place. So that's what pretty much made Ratt, I think, unique in its own way with our songs, is you had so many different inputs that just kind of, and I'll tell you what, we're still fucked up and dysfunctional. So, you know, at least we left some good songs.
Explain what it was like on the Sunset Strip then. Was there a record signing frenzy like there was in 85, 86 when it was you and I guess it would have been you, Motley, was Great White part of that too? Quiet Riot, of course.
Quiet Riot, Wasp. I mean, you know, it's even Black and Blue came up from, but if you're really talking the Sunset Strip experience, which I'm indulging and embracing for the next couple of years, hardcore, is a lot of those bands say they're from the Sunset Strip, but they came from Philly, you know, Seattle, here, there. The hardcore guys from the Strip were Wasp, Ratt, Motley. I mean, Van Halen, you know, set the standard there, but there was a handful, you know, and the scene was fucking nuts. You can only describe it. I was talking about this last night with Christy, is like being the 60s, you know, on the Sunset Strip with the Doors. If you ever see the Doors movie, you know, people all on the strip hanging out. Well, you've witnessed that.
Right.
And GNR. Well, it was 10 times that, like, you know, 1981, 82, when shit started going down with Quiet Riot, you know. But it was crazy, dude. I mean, whoa, you know, that's the real story, the Sunset Strip.
We'll be back with Stephen Pearcy of Ratt. But first, I want to tell you about CATHOUSEHollywood.com. It is a place you can buy incredible Cathouse apparel, seen on stage with some of the biggest bands in the world. Have you ever seen Keith Richards wearing a Cathouse shirt? No, but that's not the point. But I saw Slash wearing a Cathouse shirt, and John Fives wore Cathouse shirts, and a lot of people wear Cathouse shirts. You should wear Cathouse shirts. Do you know our shirts are made in America and they're screened in North Carolina? Go to CATHOUSEHollywood.com. You can get Cathouse shirts, and you can get Headbangers Ball shirts, and you can get tickets to my show, which is on tour probably right now, one foot in the gutter. Woo! Okay, let's go back to the interview with Stephen Pearcy from Ratt. Was it a community? And I know it was with you and Motley especially.
Yeah, it was actually, because, you know, I mean, literally you had Armored Saint. I mean, forgetting a couple, you know, from Pasadena, I think so. But you had those bands playing. But anyway, you're right. Yeah, you know, there was. But we pretty much had the Motley camp. You know, as soon as we met those guys in 81, I mean, because they were trolling around Nikki. I mean, I could tell stories that they won't tell.
Go ahead.
You know, it's like I even put it out there once to where he was so tripped out at the beginning of Motley. I mean, they were looking for lead guitar players back then. I mean, and at one time we rehearsed twice, me, Nikki, Robin, and Tommy at the Ratt, not Ratt Mansion West, the apartment in our rehearsal place in Culver City twice, because, you know, we were both trying to find our bands, right? My guys in Mickey Ratt bailed. Robin's band imploded. Motley was really starting to do something, and he's still out wanting to fucking grab the next hot thing, you know? But we had camaraderie. We pretty much just kind of hung out, but everybody was tight. Everybody hung. Blackie, we hung out with a lot. You know, the Motley guys. And yeah, it was a camaraderie kind of thing. There was no competition.
Right.
I mean, because at that time, Quiet Riot did their thing, and then it was wide open. Then Motley came in, and there you go, you know.
You told me a story, and I don't remember exact details of this at all, but the way that we met, supposedly something happened with a fight.
Yeah.
I don't remember this story. Tell me. I was probably fucked up then.
Dude, I came off the road, and first I got to say, look, I have the utmost respect for Axl. You know, I'm a lunatic, too. Oh, all right, who cares? Who gives a fuck? The guy's talented, bro. Anyway, so I became friends with Stephen Adler, like early on. I don't know how, whatever. And, you know, And, you know, we'd hang out. I'd come off the road. We were already happening, right? And so the Cat House is booming. You had to go there, right? I believe we jammed there a few times. And so I go there with Phil Schwartz, my security guy back then, and we're off the road. And Stephen's like, let's go to the Cat House. Let's go to the Cat House. So we go to the Cat House and we're partying, having a great time. And somebody goes, oh, well, Axl's here. He's in, I know he knows this. I'm off the road. He goes, he goes, Axl's here. Axl, he's in the DJ booth. Remember that tiny?
Of course I do. Yes.
This my record room here, and so I'm like, right on, and that's where we met. And I go in there, and he's always had a pisser about me or something. I don't know. He didn't like the way I watched their band at the Troubadour or something. I don't know what happened. I can't get the straight story from Stevie Adler either. But anyway, so I walk in there, and the first thing he does is he goes, hey, Pearcy, and he goes like one of these things up your nose, you know, you go, Rrr. He did that to me, right? And so I'm blocking. Next thing you know, we're scrambling in there. There's like 5 people in there bouncing off walls, some chicks on Joe Anthony's shoulders, Axl's, me and him are just sissy doing like this, you know, because there's no room to move. Beads are flying. I'm like, holy fuck, what the fuck just happened? Security comes running. Lo and behold, the security guy's the guy who worked for Ratt on the road, right? He's like, Stephen, go away, go away. And this is when Axl was like, you know, Gino was like starting to be, you know, whoa, this is a huge band. So I was just going, fuck, dude, I just want to say, hey, I know you. You know, your drummer's my best friend. You know, whatever the fuck. But I thought it was a funny story. And that's where I met you. Pretty much kind of like you got the news last about that little scrapple, but it never made any press. I never talked about it. It's no big fucking deal. But now I think it's funny, you know. And that's what we met.
There was a story, which, by the way, I never knew that story because that would really suck if somebody's like, oh, Axl and Pearcy are getting into the DJ booth. That's another thing like, well, I like both of you guys. What am I supposed to do?
I mean, envision a small room like, and there's beads flying,
right?
Or people in there bouncing around. I'm like going, Jesus Christ, I'm fucked up just playing. Whoa, peace, love, and hippie, you know. I'm off the road, but anyway, it's fun. Go ahead.
There was a story that something happened where you got in a fight with somebody at the Rainbow.
Yeah,
and I was there, and I was the only one that like backed you up, or I don't remember this story at all. Somebody told me bits and pieces of this. Thank God. When I can't remember things that you can remember, that tells you how screwed up I am. But
you must have been pretty fucked up.
Yes, I was, Stephen. Okay, tell me about this story.
Well, that story, if I can remember most of it, you know, usually I'm about when I go out, when I was off the road, I'd have somebody with me, you know, because I'm fucked up. I don't want to look over my shoulder every 10 minutes. And I've got no beefs with nobody, but there were these 3 guys that got kicked out of the Rainbow. They were all fucked up or something, and they were leaving the Rainbow, or they got kicked out. Just as they were being kicked out, I pull up somehow. I get out of the passenger seat, and the guy's like, get the fuck out of the way or something to me. And I'm like, you get the fuck out of the way or whatever. Next thing I know, it was crazy. Somebody was with me, but they fucking bailed, dude. And they got a piece of me from that. But I just found myself jumped by these 3 guys. And I was working my way out of it, you know, 1-on-1. Sure, pal. But I mean, 3-on-1. So anyway, they clobbered, boom. And then they got, all I got was a bloody nose. So yeah, you came into that situation, and I leave, and I never went back.
Back then, you were a wreck. What are some of your memories about going to the Cat House?
Well, oh my God. Well, first thing, anything went. I mean, people think the Rainbow was, you know, they set the standards in the 60s. No, because years later in the 80s, everybody in the 80s thought you had to do it bigger, better, more. And it just so happened to be at the Cat House, right? So you go to the Cat House, you barely remember walking out, or the times I've have been there, and I was there plenty of times. Sometimes I was like kind of tucked away after the Axl thing, but that place was fucking nutty, man. I mean, Jesus Christ. And then you had all these new guys, right? The Pussycats, LA Guns, the Guns are. So you had a whole new trip going than ours, than the Motley Ratt, Hollywood, Sunset Strip thing. Totally two different things. We were hardcore. We already had our badges, you know, the gold and platinum debauchery cards. We abused them. We were used up. But you guys had the black cards, the fucking let's really get stupid over here. When you walk in the door, your ticket should have said, you know, enter at your own risk. You might leave dead or something, you know. You might leave in a basket, you know. But yeah, pretty crazy. Always crazy. And then the gigs there, I sent you a couple of photos, I think, when we jammed.
So let's talk about this, because this was fun. I always, you know, when you've got all these friends, they're starting out in bands, and one of the reasons that I'm doing this whole spoken word tour is I finally get to experience what it's like to go on tour. All my friends went on tour.
I'm going to interrupt you.
What
you're doing is so fucking brilliant, dude. It's about time somebody, you know, because I got to tell you, you got the stories, you had the place, and it's brilliant that you're doing that, and no wonder it's doing well, brother. I mean,
thank you, Stephen. Dude. I appreciate that. I can't wait till I can do one of the shows that you can go to.
Oh, I want to see one.
Well, definitely. We will. So my only experience of getting to be a rock star was, and it was only like 2 shows. We started something called Partners in Grime.
Yes, we did.
Who was in Partners in Grime, Stephen?
Okay. Partners in Grime. All right. How this came about to be, I don't even know. I probably suggested, why don't we get a jam band together? This is when Fred Coury was living with me, drummer Cinderella. He was like staying at the White House for a bit. Somehow we wanted to like put a jam thing together, or somehow we got a hold of you, and then it's like, okay, you're like, well, why don't we get everybody together? And next thing you know, you get me, you get Riki, you get Fred Coury, you get Tracy Guns, you get a couple guys from Bang Tango, you get Mr. Faster Pussycat, and am I missing somebody?
Nope, that's it.
And oh my God, and so I remember, you know what? It's a trip, because what I don't remember is how we even jammed or practiced.
I don't know if we did, but we did a show at the Cathouse, and then I decided we would do one in Arizona. And one of the all-time classic stories.
Oh my God!
Oh, this is such a fun story.
Didn't we do a show in San Diego too?
Maybe we did.
I think we did. We did 3, I think, but it was amazing.
We had a tour bus and everything.
Tour bus, everything. Go ahead, tell that. It's fucking amazing.
Okay, so here we are. We're going to Arizona. At this point, I am the host of Headbangers Ball. So even though I'm not in Ratt, Cinderella, Faster Pussycat, LA Guns, or Bang Tango, I've still got a little fan base.
Oh, yeah.
We're driving to Arizona to do a show. We pull up at a record store.
Yep.
And
who's doing it in store?
Trickster. Okay? Sweet guys. Very nice guys. Not necessarily my type of music, but really good dudes.
Yeah. Great.
And they have a different fan base. Their fan base is a little bit younger and definitely more clean and nice. Right. And I'm not saying anything bad about Trickster, because I think they're just sweethearts. Okay? No. So we pull up at the in-store.
That guitar player is good, I think.
Yeah. So we pull up at the in-store, and this tour bus pulls out in front of their record store with all their fans there, and out walks. Right. You got to understand, the people I'm telling you right now are the biggest bands out right now. The guy from Cinderella, the singer of Ratt, the singer of Faster Pussycat, Tracy Guns, Bang Tango, walk out. Everybody from the in-store, the record store, just left and just crowded our tour bus, right?
It was fucking amazing. And I got a couple pictures of that, actually, of us at the in-store. It was a little more hardcore than that, Riki. I mean, we went in there just ablazed with beer and pot. We just fucking attacked that in-store. They were like, what the fuck is going on?
Their publicist was furious.
Oh, so pissed off at us because we took all the attention away from poor Trickster and just made a scene. It's kind of like a typhoon coming through town and then leaving. This is rape and pillage, and like, in a matter of like, all right, we're out, like a half an hour, I think. We just destroyed that place. and everybody was like, leaving. So they didn't have a good in store. Sorry, guys.
I have another story now with you, Stephen.
Wow.
This is a story that I don't really know if I've told that much. I'm going to tell it in my storytelling show, One Foot in the Gutter, but I'm going to tell this one. A lot of people know about the story that when Nikki OD'd and the whole Kickstart My Heart thing, but it was, I believe, the day after he had a Christmas party, and I don't know if you remember this or not, but this is when Nikki first tried to get sober, and it was called the Lonely Guy Christmas Party, and this is everybody that was at the party. You think, oh, party at Nikki Sixx's house. This was everybody. I'm talking girls and everything. It was Stephen, me, Fred Corey, Stephen Adler, Nikki Sixx. Is that it?
No, there was somebody else there. I think Tommy was hanging around too, right?
But it was all like everybody was
No, he
sort
wouldn't
of.
have been.
That was like the day. I remember because I saw a photo and Nikki looked like hell because he had just like died. Do you remember this party?
Kind of vaguely, but I think Robin and I passed through. I'd have to touch base with Adler on that maybe or something, but I think we were at the party where he did that whole OD thing. We kind of stopped by and split. I wasn't way into that shit at all. That was like, bumming me out, but that's how Robin got into the shit, unfortunately. But yeah, I remember, that's the gloom years. Those are
there were some really dark times.
Yeah. The fun was starting to stop for a moment there,
Yeah.
We were like, I think we're taking this a little bit too far. I think all of us thought that,
I hope this doesn't sound like an
No,
insult or anything.
I know
But how come
exactly
you're
what
never
you're
like,
saying.
how come Ratt's not on a studio? How come Stephen Pearcy isn't on a stadium tour?
Well, maybe Stephen Pearcy will be soon enough. See, we had this tour going down. Ratt was to headline this huge thing before the whole COVID trip and everything.
Right.
They shut it down. But you know what? It's irrelevant.
Yeah.
I mean, the way I look at it, you don't even know how many times I answer that question. It's like, Live Nation, get off your ass. I don't know. I'm still here. I know the kind of business I take care of, especially now. I've been sober for years, and you too.
And the one thing I can tell you that people are telling me, because I love Ratt, and everybody knows that even though I listen to some heavy stuff in the past decade, that I've always gone back to Ratt. And people tell me, Stephen's on his game again, because there were some times that you weren't. You know that as well, that Stephen was not on his A game, and people love to tell that story. But people tell me, they're like, dude, Pearcy's got it back again.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And it's kind of like, what's kind of happened, I don't know. I've kind of, if it wasn't for Christy, my girl, pulling in and assisting in that matter, because what got me really sober was getting cancer and all that shit, and it's all cool. Everything's cool.
Because that's scary stuff, and that makes you think, right? That makes you really think and put stuff into perspective, because we're not kids anymore. We feel like we're kids, but we're not.
Every day, and this is all going to boil down to, believe it or not, the 80s Sunset Strip experience. Let me tell you something. Wake up, kids. In 10, 20 years, the music that we created and grew up and you represented it and all of this wonderful 80s thing, it's going to be gone. All you're going to have is cover bands and stuff letting people know what the 80s were about. It's happening, all these tribute bands and cover bands. So I give kudos to a lot of the 80s bands that have really stepped up and went, fuck it, hair metal, who cares what you call it? It's not going anywhere now. The 1980s music era, circa, call it what you want, is so special now. It's cartoon. Like the minute you go hair metal, who do you think of?
But don't you hate that? I hate that. But back then, nobody said, oh, there was not one single band that ever said we played hair metal. We might have said we play glam. We're influenced from glam bands like T-Rex, Slade, stuff like that, Bowie. But nobody ever said hair metal.
Well, here's where it goes. Here's why it's so important that it's, for me, it's brilliant to see these bands from the 80s going out there. I don't know if I like it too much with just one guy in there.
Right.
That's why I won't go as Ratt with just the bass player guy, and people don't even know who the fuck he is. I mean, I wrote songs, sang them. You want to see Ratt? Here I am.
It's Stephen Pearcy singing the songs of Ratt.
And my band's as good as a band, if not better than who we tried to bullshit people with. I mean, look, I'm kind of glad because there have been so many stumbles in the Ratt world per se. This guy has control of that guy, this lawsuit, that. I am so glad to be out of that shit. Not out of my band. It is my band, Ratt, regardless of what anybody says. But so here it is. So here, I thought about it long and hard, and we created this 1980 Sunset Strip experience so I can get a bunch of our guys together and go out and do what we do best while we can. Unfortunately, you get older, you drop like flies. Some guys don't want to play anymore. Warren, I mean, I don't know. You tell me where Warren is. I don't know. Love the guy, great player. Aren't you in a band, Ratt? You know what I mean? So all these guys doing this to me is brilliant. So I'm just embracing this shit. You call it what you want. It's dollars and cents. It's a business. How long do you want to be in it? Are you just this rock guy for the 80s and you pull out and then you turn into a turd? I don't know. To each his own, right? But I think it's brilliant, all of these bands that are going out, like Dawkins, and whatever, and doing the best. Because I'm telling you, we're not going to be around in about 10, 20 years. Hopefully we'll be living and alive, all of us and our peers, but I don't want to be doing that forever. I want other people to be, I'll grab the Ratt cover band and the Motley and the Def Leppard cover tribute bands, and there you have the Sunset Experience, circa 2029, 30.
Because kids, and I hate kids. I can say kids, they're 40 years old, but but they don't really understand what everything was, because it was a lifestyle. And even as a fan, it was something where you had to get your ass up, you had to go visit and take this all in. And it was this all encompassing, incredible scene.
But don't forget, it was like a Halloween party. You had to get dressed.
There was an effort.
And it was like, that's what we love about it. Christy and Darren, our business it's all about embracing this, because I don't want to be doing this all my life. I'll be in music all my life and other endeavors and things, hence what we've created here. But I mean, you go to my shows now, the meet and greets are like fucking 80s parties, dude. People are dressed up, they're ready to go. There's guys looking like me, I mean, it's such a brilliant thing. And they call it hair metal, whatever. I love it. I don't give a shit. I embrace that stuff because you know what? To make a mark, in the 80s scene, and unfortunately you don't have your show out there, and MTVs and all of them aren't what they used to be. And I think they were about as real as it was going to get back then. I mean, still, I learned a lot in the business. Being as fucked up as I was, I still do business. So put it this way. There are more bands from the 80s that really didn't make it. They're getting played over and over that you wouldn't have even recognized in the 80s. I mean, it's interesting. Oh, yeah, there's a Trickster, or there's a something. You didn't have to be multi-platinum. Now they're playing those bands all over the place because programmers now or whoever are going, throw in some 80s band. Who is that? Oh, yeah, Enough's Enough, or whoever. They're getting paid more than ever now. We're happy that the 80s, we're embracing it. Like I say, a couple years, I might not want to do this anymore. I might not want to tour, but I still want to perform. Okay, well, I'll take up a residency. I'll take the Sunset Strip experience and take care of business, So that's where I'm going. That's where we're going here at Top Fuel Entertainment. I still love going out there and playing. I don't need to. I love it. You get it. You're on the road, and that's fucking badass. Tell those stories because it helps the whole 80s era bands.
And when we were in it, we didn't think like, hey, I mean, yes, you kind of knew you were part of something special, but you didn't realize that every single aspect of the way you lived, from where you ate breakfast, from where you went out, to what you dressed, to the effort you spent to get out. And tell me what you think about this,
You're
Stephen.
so right. You see, that's where I'm going. Nowadays, it doesn't fucking matter. I mean, look at people are playing the tapes. It's not what it used to be. There's not too much real shit out there these days. I'm about as real as it's going to get live. You know, I don't give a shit. Yeah, well, you needed to emphasize this, you needed to emphasize that. My rap music doesn't need shit to emphasize it, but a good ass whipping out there and beating up the audience and singing and doing the best you can, you know?
I'm okay with rock and roll having mistakes in it. I don't need to hear a tape. I'm okay with rock and roll having mistakes because that's rock and roll.
You know, another thing that's important and why we can run with the Sunset Strip experience is look at the bands from the 80s that are out there now. There's no real original members, you know, name them. Quiet Riot, Wasp, Motley, Ratt, I don't know, keep going. They're not original members. LA Guns, Fast to Push the Gap, right?
Right.
So all the way I see it is, guess what? There are so many tribute bands around. Watch what we do the next 2 years. There are so many tribute bands. It's brilliant. You know, that's called oversaturation. But it's so popular right now. The 80s, you know, what we created, you, I, and our peers, myself, it's crazy. And we love it. It's crazy. We have the best time out on the road. You know, it's like, wow, these people get it. You know, dressing up, looking 80s, taking the time, putting on the gear. You know, it's like, fuck yes. And that's how we felt back then.
I agree.
You know, and we're not going to be around forever. So let's have some fun while we can.
Here's the crazy thing. You're saying it's 40 years later. In the 80s, if we were listening to music in the 40s, we're not talking Bill Haley. We're talking Billie Holiday, Rudy Valley, Frank Sinatra, Glenn Miller. I mean, that's how long ago 40 years was. That's crazy. One thing that's different is you never really went to shows with your parents. And now I see parents with their kids and both loving the music.
That's exactly what I'm talking about with what we're doing. There are kids, so many at our parents are bringing their kids, and it's like, you're teaching them you know, this is what it was like when I was young, you know, check it out. They're still around. There's one of them right there, you know.
Except the parents aren't saying, come on, you have to do. No, Mom, I don't want to do cocaine. Yes, you have to do it just like it was in the 80s. Hey, there's a Ratt box set coming out.
I put it together. It's all vinyl.
As it should be. And that's another thing. I like, and people, you know, talk about, oh, the music, this is, you do understand that you can buy vinyl at Walmart and Target. They wouldn't sell it if people didn't buy it. So there are people that are buying albums. And when you listen to an album, it's a whole different way than just downloading a song or telling your phone to play it.
Of course, and it's a different sound. I've been working on a Stephen Pearcy compilation, 19 history of my music compilation called Legacy, and that's been taking a while because I'm putting some live Ratt tracks that are so unbelievable from the heyday and stuff before the EP. One of the last songs Warren and I wrote is on there, and this is Legacy. It comes out on Golden Robot this year, and there's an EP we're putting out and soon, and then I got to get to my 6th solo record, which has been in the can waiting to record for the last, I don't know, 3 years. I've got some stuff. I have the huge archive. I've got everything, music, whether it's on tape, micro cassette, 1-inch, quarter-inch, 2-inch. I got it there since 1976.
You've got all these business ventures that you're getting into, but there is going to be a time, and when I tell you this, I'm pretty much telling this to myself. We're going to get to a time when we're going to say, okay, let's stop right now. Let's relax. What is it you want to do at that point?
I will be doing the exact same thing, except not too much of live performing. You know, I love the business. You know, my indie label, I started in 95. I have yet to really take care of business with that. So there's a lot of stuff to do, you know.
Do you see yourself relaxing somewhere and
Oh,
just
yes.
where? Tell me about what it
Really
looks like.
Well, I can't tell you where, but it's going to be way cool, and there's going to be a baby goats jumping around and all kinds of groovy shit. You know, animals, pasture, life. You know, enjoy. You know, I've been a cement pirate all my life, right? So it's going to be. I'm looking forward to a change, and I'm telling you, you know, that's why it's important for us to establish and why we created this at 1980 Sunset Strip experience, because I want it to go on and on. I want what I created, Ratt, to be respected, and shit. Even the tribute Ratt bands, bring it on. I'll put you with these other bands when we're sitting in rocking chairs, everybody in Motley, if we're alive, and myself and you, right? You know, they will be letting people know that's what they were doing, you know. It's happening, you know. I mean, it's a drag that, you know, I can't see, you know, my band get it together one last thing, but I really don't care now, and it's irrelevant because this is the way I went in, and it's the way I'll go out with what I created, you know. But yeah, man, I mean, think of it, a couple of years, I don't know, I've got kickback plans, you know, whatever we feel. Fuck, I don't know, a play. By the way, you should be on Broadway.
The thing that I have a problem with, because I'm essentially a brand new band without music out there. So I'm going on tour, and I look at ticket sales, and sometimes it's great and sometimes it's not. And I have to teach myself, dude, just go up there and do a great show and know that it's not going to be packed houses all the time.
Doesn't matter. You know what? Here's my theory. Not my theory. I've been telling myself this since day one, and I say it occasionally live. I don't care if there's 100 people, 1,000 people, 10,000 people. It's the same to me. It's a fucking party. Nothing's changed except I just don't do the drugs and alcohol. You know, I might smoke a little here, but you know, it's because my glaucoma acts up. But you know,
what is the Ratt song that you like playing?
Ooh, you know, it's crazy. There's a certain part in my solo set, and I think it's my band too because they're nutty. Unlike the real Ratt guys, it would be great. I mean, Robin was the real shit.
Right.
I mean, I miss that guy so much. It's ridiculous. You know, he'd be slapping these punks all over the place. The other guys in the band for their stupidity. But anyway, move on. You know what gets the fire up their ass? There's a part in my set I call the Ugly Three. And there are 3 songs that we play, bap, bap, bap. It could be a trivia question, actually. When I play those, when I say we're going to play the Ugly Three, that's the part of my set to where I know it's either make or break. We're getting nutty in here, or you're just sucking, pal, which is very seldom. But it's when we go into You're in Love, Lay It Down, Lack of Communication. We play those 3, bap, bap, bap. It's fucking just balls to the walls, fucking chaos, and I love it. I still get off on doing what I do.
And you know what?
I still love
those songs, and I happen to love all 3 of those, but I've just really loved the groove of Way Cool Jr. I just like that song because I think it's so funky. But the thing is, they don't sound like other bands, and that I'm going to say about Ratt, that even though Ratt was in the genre and the same time of a lot of these bands, all those songs you mentioned, I mean, Lack of Communication, such a like kick-ass song like that, you know, but it didn't sound like the other bands.
The way I see it with my band Ratt, bands are only supposed to last so long. You don't have to kill yourself to have this success, so to speak, but it happens. You know what I mean? But I'll tell you what, I still like going out there. I still love yelling at them, and it's a way cool thing. And then to play songs like Way Cool, you'd be surprised. People love Way Cool, Dirty Job. And then I smack them with I'm Insane, you know, and throw in a solo song, you know.
Thank you so much. Where can we find you on social media and everything else? Give some plugs.
You got it, brother. Officialstephenpearcy.com. Just keep in your head 1980 Sunset Strip experience the next 2 years. Riki, I will shout out to this, but I mean, the minute I love the fact that you went out there, number one, and said, fuck this. I'm going to go out there and fucking do it. It's working. It's going to be huge.
We're going to keep in touch, Stephen, and thank you so much. And I've had so much fun today.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you. And now we're going from the 8-month recorded podcast talking about something that happened a long time ago back to me in the future, which is actually my present, but you're listening to it, so it's my I'm going to tell you something about in the future, unless you listen to this like after October 2023, then it'll be in the past. I've been doing these shows called One Foot in the Gutter. It's the most fun of anything I've ever done in my career. I get up on stage and I tell stories about the Cathouse days, about Headbangers Ball days, sex, drugs, rock and roll, my time in jail, my time as a drug dealer. Oh, should I not have said that on the air? Well, I say it on stage. There's a lot of stuff I say on the stage. And I'm very proud to say that the shows have been getting incredible reviews. There are only 2 shows left of 2023. And it is November 4th in Melbourne, Florida, and November 5th in Daytona Beach. The Daytona Beach tickets are on sale. They're going fast. There's a couple of VIP, VFI passes. The Melbourne tickets are going on sale this Friday. Now, of course, it's probably on sale now because I don't know what day you're listening to this podcast. Jeez. I'm confusing everybody, aren't I? Let's go back. Go to CATHOUSEHollywood.com and look for when I'm coming to your town, which would be Melbourne, Florida, or Daytona Beach, Florida. Those are the last 2 shows of 2023. One Foot in the Gutter. I want you to go, and I want you to have fun with me for a couple hours. Well, that definitely wraps up today's Cathouse Hollywood podcast. I'm going to keep on releasing the archived episodes of these shows. And I do have some new ones coming up that I'm working on, but I'm just going to start putting these out. Bang, 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 bang. Bang, bang, bang. So what have we got here? We have got October 7th. I'm going to be in Charlotte, North Carolina at the Congregation Motorcycle Show. We'll be there with our company, CATHOUSE Coffee. October 27th, 28th, and 29th in Orlando, Florida at the Spooky Empire Horror Convention, which is going to be so much fun. It's in Orlando. And not only will all the legends of the horror business, which I love, the horror business, I'll be hosting a Q&A with Zetro from Exodus, Chuck Billy from Testament, and Rachel and Snake from Skid Row. And then I jump on the Headbangers Boat from Halloween to November 4th. And, One Foot in the Gutter. Did I tell you that already? That's November 4th and 5th in Daytona Beach. And in Melbourne, Florida, go to CATHOUSEHollywood.com to get your tickets. Subscribe to this podcast, review it, tell all your friends. I am Riki Rachtman. Remember to keep one foot in the gutter, one fist in the gold. Bye.